All right, thank you so much. My name is Sima again, and I'm so excited to be here with you, Arsen. Barevzes, vanses.
Baba Simajan, Davan. Thank you for having me. How are
Yeah,
you?
very, very excited to be interviewing you. I'm doing well today, doing well, and very excited to talk about the duduk, which is one of my favorite instruments ever, and learn more about learn more about you and your journey with music and your journey with the duduk. So I thought, though, maybe we could start off with you playing the duduk and playing some music for us. So
perfect.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Arsen. That was beautiful. What was that piece called?
It's called Arim Sohag. You might know about this piece.
Arim Sohag. Yes, I've heard.
Arim Sohag.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. So that was great. I thought maybe we could start by getting into the mechanics a little bit of the duduk. Can you tell us about like how it's made and the, as I understand, and can you remind me the name of it in Armenian, the duduk? Yeah.
In Armenian, Duduk, it's called Ziranapoh. It means the tube of apricot.
Right.
Because, you know, the instrument is made of apricot tree, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, the best, I mean, Duduk is possible to make with apricot tree because it is gentle, you know, the wood is gentle and it's easier to make holes, you know, here.
Mm-hmm.
And also the sound is great, much better than the other kind of woods, you know. They have tried with walnut, even cocoa polo African wood, but the best
Mm-hmm.
is apricot. That's why so call it the tube of apricot as well.
Yeah. And the reed, is the reed made from apricot as well?
No, the reed is a bamboo cane, you see. We call it double reed because of this, you know. Here is a double reed.
Yeah.
And there is a regulator which make, you know, each tune. It's a kind of oboe reed, you know, but big one. So
yeah.
So and it's a tube, you know, the size, it's like this, you know, it's they make measurements. I can show you here. You see, there is ladders from both sides. So when they make these reeds, so they make measurements. They take some part of, you know, of it, and they put it in the water, and then they crack. When they crack, it gets, you know, cracks over here. So we put ladders skinny, then it will not be make, you know, out, air goes out. So we just.
Do you usually make your own reeds, or do you have someone that you work with that makes the perfect reeds in Armenia?
No, I can't make it because it's really difficult, and there are professional reed makers separately, and there are also professional duduk makers. So those are different, you know, professions, and there are separately masters for each one.
And how many holes are on the duduk? It's 8.
It's 10 holes, you know, you are using. You see? Can you see?
Okay.
So one, you know, above. And this one, so we are using rarely, you know, because we put some type when there is need to play a lower note, lower G, let's say. So duduk range is 1.5 octave. It's very small, you know, from F sharp, from F sharp to B, 1.5 octave.
Yeah. So not that huge, but but very expressive.
I mean, this type of, it is. Yeah, thank you. This type of duduk, you know, this is a classical duduk, because recently there was created also duduk which has metal levers, metal keys, you know, which makes larger the metal, the range. So that's different school, you know. This is the classical duduk.
And where did you get your first duduk from? Like, where did you get it, and how did you start being introduced to playing the duduk?
Okay. It comes from my family, actually. My grandfather was a duduk player in the village, rural musician. Yeah. And that comes from my family, actually, from my genes, let's say. And my family and my father, mostly, he was a big fan of music in general. He was not a musician, and he was appreciating very much music and musicians. So he saw that I'm interested, you know, I'm attentive to the music when I was a kid. So he decided to take me to the music school when I was around 5 years old. And why duduk? Because it's traditional, you know, instrument. It's a national instrument of Armenia. So then, firstly, I started to learn on shvi. Shvi is a flute, Armenian traditional flute, which is easier than duduk, you know, physically for 6 years old guy. So the school, the technique was that we starting, you know, to learn on shvi. Then some years later, we start learning on duduk.
Right.
So this was my way, how I went to music school in my hometown.
Yeah, once upon a time, when I was in high school, I was an oboe player. And so I played a double reed instrument. And so when I went to Armenia, I tried to play duduk. And I have some, but I've never, one of the most challenging things about playing double reed instruments is the embouchure with your mouth. And the duduk embouchure is so specific because there's the circular breathing. Could you talk more about your embouchure and the breathing and the mechanics of what's going on in your mouth when you're playing the duduk?
Yeah, that's true. For duduk, you know, we are using puff cheeks, you know. This is very important technique, you know, like you're just creating an air, you know, to provide into the reed. Have a look. I don't make any pressure, you know, so I don't use my keys, just, you know, lips. You just hold the reed, but you don't need to make pressure, don't push it, just to be able to provide an air. So I can compare duduk, or I mean this technique, with a bagpipe, you know. So the technique, the idea, you create an air to provide it. If there is no air, so it's not possible to make any sound, let's say. or any notes to pass from note to another note. This is the same reason. And for duduk, so constantly, you know, you have to keep on your cheeks. So during the playing, you make also circulate breathing, you know. This is the reason. So this is a very important technique, you know, to have as much as possible to provide a lot of air to make it wider, you know, as much as you provide much more air, so you will get a good sound. It is all overtones, you know.
Yeah. Can you describe, actually, I'm so curious, can you describe actually what circular breathing feels like? Like, are you breathing through your nose and then like pushing it? I never was very good at it with oboe. Like my poor parents had to listen to me play terrible oboe for years. So I want to know more about what like how exactly it works.
Yeah, you just at the same time, you know, you breathing, you know, air out, and then you take a breath from your nose, you know, at the same time. And for that, actually, it takes time, you know, like 2-3 years to learn it. It's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because without this, you know, it's not possible actually, and mostly for the phrasings, you know, if you play long phrasings, you wouldn't cut, you know, the sentence, the phrasing. So this is very helpful. And you know, like in traditional classical way of playing, for solo player, it is always accompanying with drone, you know, drone duduk player, so which keeps constantly drone, you know, like 10-minute, 15-minute with circulate breathing, you know.
We had a question that just came up in the Q&A, which is, do your cheeks get tired? Like, how long can you play the duduk before you have to before you're done?
Good question. You know, during the years, you know, you make your cheeks, you know, strong as you play, you know, like years and years. From the beginning, of course, if I would play 40 minutes, you know, or 30 minutes, I would get tired. But now, like a solo concert, I mean, I can play 1 hour at least, you know, 1 hour, 15 minutes. There, you know, around average I can play. But the most problematic thing is the reed, you know, as it's a double reed, you know, instrument, so you can't constantly push it, you know. It's changing as you provide humidity. So after 1 hour, the reed itself, you know, changing, so starting.
Interesting. So the reed might give up before you give up.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, those reeds are very sensitive. You know, like they are like kids. You know, you have to understand and to be very careful actually with them. I can tell you. Yeah. I mean, from my experience, I understood this, and still, you know, I'm discovering them. And each reed has different sound, different characters. Sometimes they are very, like we are in a fight. You know, sometimes.
Yeah.
Too much, and then so it's just.
Do you name them? Do you give your reeds names?
Yeah, I know them. Actually, before playing like solo concerts or recordings, you know, I have to know them very well. I mean, never I wouldn't play a concert with a very new reed, you know. I mean, I have to play months, at least 1 month to get them know, you know. Then I can be sure that they will support me, not to live in the middle. So
that's very funny.
It is, yeah. And
I have a question, because every time I've heard duduk, I always think that there's like a very specific reverb that goes with the duduk. There's like the duduk reverb that is, and I was wondering if you could talk more about like what is in your mind the ideal scenario to play duduk? Like what are the ideal acoustics? Because it's such a specific instrument that, you know, it can kind of carry over. So I wonder if you could speak more about different places you've played. Yeah.
Very good question, actually. Yeah. And for this question, I would come back again, you know, to the technique of this, you know, cheeks, how to puff. You see, so when you have a, you know, right technique, you use, you know, right technique to provide the sound and to play, you know, this instrument, you already have this, you know, reverb, let's say, kind of. So these overtones, you know, are rich, goes around you. So there is no need, you know, to put dozens of reverbs, you know. And you are right, actually. You listen many recordings, so there are tons of, you know, reverbs done on the duduk. So this is not the right, you know, I mean, way to do it, because I can just show you, you know, like, let's say in this room, so it is acoustically, and I mean, already right now there is reverb, you know, I mean, according to this room.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a classical way of providing a sound, you know. It is possible also to create a sound without puffing cheeks, but that would not be the same quality of sound, you know. I'm not a
What
big
is,
fan of reverb, you know, in general. I mean, to put that, it depends on the room. Right? If you play, you know, in the like cathedral or in, you know, some interesting like places. So yeah, it's nice, you know, to have this naturally.
yeah. I
Reverb,
can
but
imagine. Have you ever played in like Gerhard, like, or like a church, like I always, there's a very specific place in Armenia called Gerhard, which is this church built into, and whenever I go there, I always go and sing in the middle of the room, because I always think it must be the most amazing natural reverb chamber in the whole world.
that's true. Yeah, it's amazing acoustic. It exists there, and I have done, and I enjoy very much, you know, this kind of places to perform and to get that vibe and the response, you know, of your sound. To be, it's very intimate also, you know, in this kind of places to play.
Yeah, yeah. And I agree with you, because I think that sometimes like there's so much technique in like actually using the space rather than just putting reverb on, because with, you know, when you're letting it be more natural, the audience is really experiencing your body performing it and not necessarily microphones like performing for you.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
and do you usually mic the duduk when you perform? Like, is it, and where do you mic it?
Me not actually, no, but it's possible, you know, you can have it, you can put a hole here and you can mic, you know, the instrument just directly to your instrument, but I don't do it because it does affect for the intonation. I found it out, but we use normally a different kind of, you know, microphones in the concerts. It depends how big is the hole, you know, but yeah, normally we use microphones.
Yeah.
But not
So,
directly to the instrument.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. So rather than like making a hole in it and putting like a pickup on it.
Exactly, because I found out that it makes, you know, like pitch goes higher. The intonation is not really good.
Right. Yeah. It makes it a little sharp. Yeah. I mean, and I guess I'll actually ask this question, which is that, have you found like, has the duduk made its way into like contemporary pop music? Like, how is that working? Like, is the duduk, do you think that there is like a place for duduk in like more contemporary music, or do you find that it really has a home in traditional folk music only?
Actually, I mean, duduk came from the folk people, you know, like it's a very traditional instrument, you know. At the beginning, very beginning, it was a rural instrument, you know, as it was created, and also it was very much present in the social life, let's say, for Armenians. So Armenian people, they carried on this instrument during with different movements, you know, and it was always accompanied, you know, in the sadness and in the happiness, is, you know, about that maybe. And then, you know, within the time it came, you know, to the stage, it became more classical. Then later on, you know, during the movements and this recent year, it became more popular. It went to film soundtracks, and then nowadays in the classical orchestras and even pop music.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how it is like started. Like, let's say it's like water, then you make, many different things out of that,
Mm-hmm.
I could say in this way about the duduk. And I'm open, for different genres to use the instrument. And
Mm-hmm.
it's nice, when it's done with the taste and reasonable. So I'm open and
Mm-hmm.
I'm on for this. And I do also by myself,
Yeah.
playing with different, genres and orchestras, not just traditional way. But for
Yeah.
me, as a musician, as a duduk player, I mean, first you have to learn to know classically and in traditionally, the instrument very well. Then you can build your own way and to go to discover different paths and ways to combine. This is
Mm-hmm.
important, for me.
Yeah.
Then you can see that it's something strong, There is background of that. It's not just take the instrument and say, yeah, I'm playing something contemporary. In that way, I mean, there is no power, that much. It's not
Mm-hmm.
powerful for me.
Yeah. I think of the duduk, I mean, people always describe that it is the instrument that is the closest to the human voice in all the world. And
That's true.
I mean, whenever I hear the duduk, I think of it's like an opera singer. Like, it's so emotional. And I don't know if you could talk more about like the emotional kind of the emotional power behind the duduk and what you are channeling, what you are thinking about when you're playing different pieces, because it's such an instrument that is expressive of human joy, sadness. And so could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I could compare it with the singing exactly, like the singer, yeah, she would express, yeah, singing. This is the same way for me, when I play. I mean, I just by myself, I want, like, I'm singing, that moment. I want
Mm-hmm.
to express by myself, and it depends on my mood. So, and then the conversation, just when you perform, just, and you make a, it's very interesting for me, this question actually. When you just make a line between you and audience, or just between you or the space, mostly you are
Mm-hmm.
very much into deep, you feel everything. That's the most important performance for me, let's say. I can say, it's done when I'm in the mood, when I'm in the connection. It's not just playing, just music. You have to be very much connected, into the space, yourself, and then audience.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Yeah.
you are building, very powerful line between you and the listener.
Yeah.
This is my experience. I'm enjoying very much that, if I can reach that point.
Mm-hmm. So you had an album, Charan Savan, which Charan Savan is where you're from, right? Your town, your
Exactly, yeah.
village. It's kind of just outside of Yerevan on the way to Sevan, right?
Exactly, yeah. It is small city, 30 kilometers to the north, direction to the Sevan from Yerevan. Yeah. This
Mm-hmm.
is my hometown where I'm based, and I'm living till now here. And that was my first debut album, which was released in 2015, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
by Pomegranate Music. And due to this, I want to thank to Rafi Meneshian, who did a great job and supported me very much for my first international career, let's say, to bring my music, out of Armenia.
It's a beautiful album. And where the music from that is it mostly traditional songs? Are some of them original? How is can you tell us about like what is the kind of music on that album? Because it's a gorgeous album. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sima. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. It's mostly Armenian traditional and folk music, and one piece from Ara Dinkchan, Lullaby for the Sun. Oud player, composer, very amazing musician, Ara Dinkchan, and he agreed, to give a piece. I mean, for the copyright. So, and I recorded one of his pieces. It's one of my favorite pieces actually, and I perform a lot.
Yeah.
His piece Lullaby for the Sun. And the rest of the repertoire is Armenian traditional and folk music, and some of them I found from archives, and I just brought them out. I recorded on my album. So some of them, there were never, you know, performed or recorded. I'm the
Mhm. And you're working,
researcher, and
yeah, and you're working on a new album now as well, right?
right now, yeah, I just finished yesterday. I can tell you, I'm working on my,
Congratulations.
yeah. Thank you so much. My new album, which will be released hopefully next year by ARC Music, and looking forward
Yeah.
for the rest of the
Well,
job to continue.
yeah, I'd love to keep asking questions, but would you like to play one other piece maybe from either of those albums?
Okay. Or something. Let me see.
Beautiful. Thank you again. What was that song?
It's called Seropi Tsar. You know Tsar. It's a three.
Mm-hmm.
It's from an Armenian film soundtrack. Yeah, there was a beautiful Duduk, you know, music playing there. It's done in the Soviet period, and I love this. Just it came to my mind, you know, this music, and it's a lovely piece. More uh, more traditional way of playing, you know. With you saw I used ornament, you know.
Yeah.
Did you see?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Those are like ornaments for the instrument. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, you know, like it's, I show you like a slowly, you know, ornament.
Can you lift it up a little more or back up maybe a little?
Can you?
There, yeah. That's...
At the same time, you know, my fingers and cheeks are moving synchronized, you know, together.
Mm-hmm. I actually have a duduk. I don't have a reed right now, but so when you hold it, these fingers are more directly, like one hand is more directly on the holes and one is with the flats of your fingers, right?
Yeah, exactly. You see my left hand, you know, I put over here, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then right hand, you know, on this position.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the reason is, you know, because of the half notes. If I put like this, you know, for half notes, so it's complicated to make half notes, you know.
Mm.
So all, you know, I just turn, you know, like half and I get like flat or sharp, you know.
Ah.
You see?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And we have many quarter tones. It's possible to play on Duduk because the instrument itself, it's known. I forgot the name. It's not like piano, you know. It's, we have quarter tones on Duduk.
Yeah, I know
If I
the like A440. I think when you play the duduk, the volume comes down and then it comes back up as you're talking. So yeah.
okay, because of
Um
the sound, you mean?
I think the sound, yeah, the zoom kind of quiet. So if you can speak up a little bit after you play the duduk, that would be helpful. Yeah, so you can play a lot of quarter tones. And can you tell us a little bit about like your teacher who taught you how to play the duduk and your, I guess, your education in the duduk? We have some people who are very curious about like how to find a teacher and what it's like to learn the duduk.
My first teacher was Grigor Khachatryan in my hometown where I went to music school. I studied there 4 years, you know, to learn this instrument. Then I went to a great master, a well-known Armenian duduk player, Gevorg Dabagyan, who was my, you know, master of this instrument, and he was the big influence, you know, in my music life. So then I changed completely my music style.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Can you talk a little louder? Sorry, it's for some reason the volume dropped. Yeah.
I don't know why. So my first teacher was Grigor Khachatryan in my hometown where I went to music school. Then I went to Yerevan to a great master, well-known Armenian duduk player, Gevorg Dabagyan, who was my teacher, and I took lessons from him, and he was the biggest influence for my music, you know, way and path. So I choose this style and school from him, and then I continued to study with him at the conservatory in Yerevan.
Mm-hmm.
And till now, I have a connection with my teacher, and we are always in communication. You know, we are meeting, we are asking any questions, you know, and also for the rest of great duduk players, I consider them also as a teacher, you know, for me, because even I haven't, you know, taken lessons from them, but I consider them as a teacher. Ivan Gasparian, Vache Ovsepian, Levon Madoyan, different school, you know, duduk players, so which has influenced on my music and on the instrument mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a small family, and you know,
Yeah.
I'm thankful to them and to everyone
Yeah.
for their great heritage and for their great music.
Yeah. And when you're studying duduk in in the conservatory, has the kind of has it become is it similar to like studying Western instruments? Like, are you running da 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 da? Are you running scales like in the Western scales, like, or is it totally different? There's a completely different like world of scales or techniques that you're learning, or are you learning similar to like violin players or I don't know, flute player, oboe player?
Actually, we do both. We are learning oral, like the teacher could sing, and say, let's play this, and he would show you, like, let's play this, and exactly he will show you. Or also, meantime, you will play with the scores. We are learning, we read like Western score.
Mm-hmm.
We have this school, and in the conservatory we have a class, branch for Armenian traditional music and folk instruments, and Duduk is there. So, and Duduk is considered as a homeland of Armenia.
Yeah. How old is the duduk? It's over 2,000 years old, right?
Yeah, through history they say it is over 2,000 years old, and it came, from Eastern countries, and then it stopped in Armenia, and then Armenians, they made their own way of the like woodwind instrument, and this is what we have now. And in my opinion, this is why the sound of duduk is very much expressive, and it's emotional. It reminds you like past, and the present. It comes, it becomes one, at the same time when you listen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think it's very powerful in general, the sound and the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, maybe I'll turn to a couple more questions. We had a question about if you could give any advice on how to control volume. Like, how do you control volume and like play quietly on the duduk?
Because of the pressure of the air, how you have to control, it's overall is coming from here, you make, you have to, firstly you need a constant, constant air, how you blow it, then you can control it, how much you want to give it,
Yeah. And another question that I have that sort of came up in the Q&A is, what are your hopes for the duduk? Like, do you hope like there are more and more duduk players, and how can people learn how to play the duduk? Like, do you have any recommendations for how people can find a good teacher and what they should be asking for, looking for with a good duduk teacher? What are your hopes for the world duduk community?
Actually, these recent years I see many, foreigners are interested, in this instrument, and it's great, and I encourage, about it. It makes me happy when I see, that many people, mostly foreigners, they are interested, to learning this instrument. And firstly, they need a decent instrument, the instrument which will be in tune, Sometimes I see, this like souvenir instruments, they got souvenir instruments and the reed is completely, hard. First thing, it's fine if the instrument is out of the tune, of course, because it's for souvenir, it's for different purpose. But at least, the reed has to be very easy, when you take, as you like that instrument, when you take the instrument, to be able at least to make sound, which will, encourage you to continue. If you just take, the reed and you just want to make any sound, is completely, difficult and no way, then you give up, kind of, I have seen many this kind of, things. And always, I recommend to the makers also, I say, listen, if you do this, like souvenir instrument, it's fine, please do it, like easy, soft reeds that whoever takes that, they will not give up and they will just like them as to make sound, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
the rest, so it depends on the person, you know, if they want to find a teacher, you know, or if they want to go professionally to start. But I can surely tell that it's not difficult physically, you know. Even, you know, you see that you make these puffing cheeks and it seems hard, but it's not. If you find the right technique, right way, it's not that much difficult, you know, physically, I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and every time I go to vernissage, I usually end up getting probably one of the, you know, just the, what do you call it, the souvenir ones, and they always try and teach me. And so at the very beginning, if someone has a duduk, what is you tell them to like relax the mouth, right? Because it's about
Exactly, like you see, like it has to be very relaxed, like how you
yeah.
would blow into balloon, you know, balloon. It's exactly, you know, just to create, you know,
Mm-hmm.
an air so which will come out, you know, not to make pressure, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and not jaw also, you know, it's in this way, let's
Yeah,
say.
yeah, that's great.
Next time I will give you a gift when we meet in Armenia.
Thank you. I need to
Professional
find
read.
out where to get a good read, and yeah, maybe a little lesson.
With
um
pleasure.
all right, well, I want to go to a couple more questions in the Q&A, and then yeah, just ask a couple. They had a question, do you need to warm up the reed a lot? How do you prepare the reed before a concert?
Okay, good question. So let's say there's two ways, you know, to prepare the reed. Firstly, you know, as you know, the reed is a cane, it needs
Mm-hmm.
always humidity, right? Without humidity, it's impossible to open up, yeah,
Right,
this
yeah.
double reed,
Mm-hmm.
you see. Yeah. So firstly, you know, you take the reed, you check, you know, if it's a little bit open, you know, then you give a steam.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I just give a steam to
Mm-hmm.
warm it up, you know, like to make
Mm-hmm.
humidity. If the reed is, you know, dry, so there is no way, you know, to open it, you just, you know, take just a little bit of water, you put, you know, inside, you shake it, you know, like let's say 4 seconds even, just, and then you just leave it, you know, out. Then 10-15 minutes, so it becomes humidity, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start to open, but you have to be careful, you know, due to the climate, you know, issue where you are
Mm-hmm.
based. If you live in a, you know, place where there is too much humidity, so mostly there is no need to put water, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in the reed. Yeah, my
Yeah.
first recommendation is just to try with your own steam, you know, firstly. But if there is
Mm-hmm.
no way, that's the second, you know, option.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, that is really great. I think that answered most of the Q&A questions. Um, uh, Most of the Q&A questions. I just wanted to ask a little bit more about, you know, how has music been, have you been playing music throughout, you know, I know Armenia also has been in quarantine, and now there's this intense situation. And what is the music community in Armenia doing right now? Like, what is playing music like, and how is everyone feeling? And does music have a part in bringing us together in peace right now? So
It is in general. I mean, the mission of music, one of the, I mean, big mission is that to bring people together, you know, for peace, for a good, positive purpose. But due to this pandemic situation, you know, Armenia is the same thing as in Europe, and all musicians mostly, you know, there is no any live performances, you know, to do here, and you know, it's not positive. So, and as a small country, you know, we don't have a market for the music, firstly, you know, and then there was just a couple of, you know, outside concerts, but now already we are in autumn in Armenia, so it's gone, and it's not easy as everywhere, you know, and musicians, they are fighting themselves, you know, even in a good times. And imagine, I mean, in this pandemic situation, even worse with this whole situation, what is going right now on. So it's very, very difficult. And this is the situation. And but I am by myself still optimistic and, you know, positive about all, and in general about music. You know, we know that it's a very difficult path, you know, but we choose this way. It's done, you know, by myself, and we understand that there is a mission, you know, I mean, and every one of us, we have a mission, you know, to do in this world. And I'm perfectly, you know, happy that I choose this way to be a musician and to live in the music, in this, you know, in this field, you know, because this is totally different world, and you find your peaceness, you know, and you are out of everything. So this means a lot, you know, for the life.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to the day when we can bring the duduk back across the borders and play. We had a question. Someone was asking, is the duduk, there's similar instruments in, they were introduced to the duduk through Georgian musicians. Is there a similar instrument in Georgia? And
in Georgia,
in Caucasus, like in Turkey, I don't know.
There is, actually, similar instruments. In Georgia, they call it duduki. Duduki, the same way, you know, but it has different size of reed and different sound, you know. It's more bassy in Georgia. They call it duduki. And in Turkey, they call it balaban.
Balaban.
Yeah, it's a different, you know, school, and also a bit sound and technique is different, actually. But as instrument, you know, by the look, so it's the same. It exists in the region.
And do you think that you need a huge lung capacity to be a duduk player, or is it all in the head technique?
No, first is the diaphragma, you know, it comes from diaphragma all the way. So it's here, you know. This part has to be very strong, firstly, you know. Then so all the way it comes, you know, here, and then you provide it from the cheeks. Not to push, no, for over your lungs. No, it's the diaphragm.
Okay, great. And do you have any films that have had the duduk in the soundtracks? That, like, why do you think the duduk is used so much in films? Like, are there any films that you think we should watch that have the duduk featured in it?
Played by myself, you mean?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Not by myself. I mean, I haven't played any like big budget films. I have done a couple of small, you know, like documentaries. Not yet something big for film soundtrack.
It will to come. You're young still.
I think so. Yeah, but you know, this recently, you know, I noticed that too many, you know, like it's too much sometimes. You know, you listen, it's always composer, you know, put duduk and mostly sample duduks, you know, and even I can see it's even themselves, you know, the composer, they just take the instrument, they make just, you know, sound and to express as something exotic, you know. Or I'm not a fan of this, you know.
Yeah,
because
too much.
It is too much, you know. It has to be used by purpose, you know. Just this is my concern. Otherwise, I mean, it's fine. But I can hear, you know, in games or in very different, you know, soundtracks. So it is always, you know, like expressing duduk, and you can see even it's not done professionally. At least the sound, I mean.
Yeah. Do you have like a dream collaboration that you would like to collaborate with another artist or another kind of instrument or another band or something?
Yeah, always, of course, always. And I'm very open, you know, to collaborate and to bring together different cultures and music, you know. And I do, and my one of wish is to make an album or to perform with the sitar, you know, sitar and duduk.
Oh yeah.
That's my one of my idea. I'll see if it's possible, you know, this near future to make it, because I mean, sitar is one of my, favorite instrument. It's so deep, and when I listen, it makes me, so emotional and so deep feeling. And I think those two instruments to combine together, it will be so powerful for the listener, because both of them comes from old, deep heritage cultures. This is one. So, and I'm interested also in flamenco music, to bring flamenco and duduk. So I'm open, for many different collaborations.
That's great. We have one of your students, Sergey's mom, says we need to get a duduk, and she says hi. So they're trying to get a duduk for him. So one of your students, I guess. So do you teach as well? Do you teach the duduk now?
I do. I have online classes, and yeah, when I'm in Armenia, when I'm not touring, so I do online classes via Skype or Zoom. And thanks to all my students. I have really good students and great human persons, and I'm very much enjoying, to do lessons and to share what I know. It's also interesting for me to discover, just this, way how we share. It's just sharing for me, It's not just teacher, only just being teacher. It's for me, this is more a joy and sharing, what I know, and I also learn from that moments, And thank to my students who joined and who is watching.
Yeah, that's great. People were asking, do you know anywhere? Is there any? Well, would love to know in Armenia, but is there anywhere outside of Armenia where you can buy a duduk that you would recommend?
I mean, they can check, on Google, but the only thing, the issue is that they have someone has to, check the instrument before it will be, shipped to them.
Right.
They can check, on Google. So there are some online stores. I think in the States also it exists, but of course, the best way is to get from Armenia.
Yeah. From Armenia, and maybe have Arsen play it a little bit first and then send it to you.
I mean, I would help, if there is anything I can do. Just feel free to contact me if there would be, any questions about instrument or about anything. I will do it with pleasure.
Well, that's so exciting that you've been in the studio recently and that you're making new music. Is there anything, what is inspiring this new record? Is there any themes or anything that is kind of, what are you thinking about for this? You just finished recording it. What kind of instruments are on it with you? And
all is an acoustic music, and I recorded, with my quartet, with my trio. It's in the classical and traditional, style of music, Armenian music, and it's accompanied with santur, with kanun, with percussion, with harp, with second duduk as a drone. And I mean, for me, it's really exciting. I wanted to do this, and I planned, before, like last year, the repertoire always, it was in my mind, I recorded them. I mean, already, like by the past, I planned, what I want to record, from sacred music to classical music. I mean, from 17th century till nowadays, the repertoire, the journey, let's say. And I recorded one piece from Tigran Mansourian, a Grammy voted composer, Armenian, and the film soundtrack. So he allowed me to record one of his pieces, and I'm very curious, to see what will be the result, to hear from the listeners. I worked over 3 months on this album, and even I didn't take any break in this summer. So from June, no any, like single weekend I haven't taken. So, but this is, I'm enjoying, and I tried my best, and it was so hard with this recent, situation and movements mostly, but I'm glad I could finish it and to provide to the labels. This was the first thing for me.
Yeah, that's really, really wonderful. And oftentimes duduk is played with two two duduk players, right?
It
Where
is.
it can be a duet instrument, right?
In the classical way, so the second duduk, it makes a drone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He makes a drone, and then you base your solo, you know, performance on the drone,
Mm-hmm.
which makes
And,
more deep, you know, your sound and your music.
and the overtones, I would imagine, they kind of
Exactly.
dance together more. Are there any young duduk players that you're excited about that are any
Exactly. We have
students? Yeah.
students. Yeah,